welcome all of you. Today we will be starting with the unit related to the sustainable development or sustainability. So, in today's lecture we will cover the concepts of sustainability and sustainable development. Though they sound same and similar, but there is a slight difference in the context when they are used and their actual meaning. Then the pillars for sustainability, and then there are two types of sustainability, weak and strong, and we will look at case study for each of those two types. So, what is sustainability? United Nations defines sustainability as meeting the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So, that is the definition of sustainability. So, whatever human beings are doing today at present to satisfy their needs. So, we do exploit nature a lot. We consume lot of resources from nature to satisfy our present needs, but if it is not done responsibly, then there won't be anything of good quality left for the future generations. So, that is what sustainability defines, like whatever resources we use from the planet in the name of profit or our growth, it should be in a very responsible manner, so that the future generations, they do not need to face like adverse consequences, and they have like what, either they have the same level of environment like we are experiencing now, or the better form of environment, so that they live like a good life. Then this concept of sustainability, as you can see in this picture, the three pillars or the three aspects where it stands for: people, planet and profit, also called as society, environment and economy. Okay. So, these are the alternative terms for these people, planet and profit, also called as society, environment and economy. So, the concept of sustainability is not related to only the environment. It does not say just the environmental sustainability, it goes beyond that. It also concerns the economic and social aspects of sustainability, which are related to meeting people's current economic and social needs without compromising the future generations' needs. Okay. So, like I said, in the name of progress or getting our economy strong or to gain more profit, which will ultimately help us to live better lives, and in that process when we are degrading the environment, we should be careful enough that we should not be degrading environment a lot, but at the same time we cannot do it at the cost of reduced profits or reduced economic growth. So, there has to be a proper balance between these three aspects of sustainability. And what is sustainable development then? So, it describes the processes for improving long term economic well-being and quality of life, which says like, which includes economic and social aspects without compromising future generations' ability to meet their needs. So, it is like not a final state, but it is like a path or process through which we can achieve sustainability. Okay. So, if we have to find the difference between the two terms, sustainability can be thought as a long term goal. Ultimately, we can say that the world has achieved a state of sustainability, and sustainable development can refer to processes and pathways that would help to achieve that state of sustainability. It can be sustainable agriculture, forestry, good governance, good production, consumption methods. So, that is the thin line of difference which I was talking about, like sustainability can be called upon as a long term goal, and sustainable development can be considered as a process or a pathway to achieve that state of sustainability. So, meaning or the intention between both the terms is same, like we should not be compromising future generations' ability to meet their needs while satisfying our own needs. Now, coming to the pillars of sustainability. So, there are three pillars, you will find them represented in both of these forms, but I would recommend like if you have to ever draw a diagram for pillars of sustainability, prefer this one, because it is like more clear that sustainability is standing on these three pillars. It looks like a pillar also, the social, environmental and economic. And this diagram, it also shows the definition of sustainability where it is at the merger of these three pillars, but when we discuss different types of sustainability, like at least the weak and strong sustainability, you will realize that this diagram may not be the accurate one to represent the pillars of sustainability. Okay, because here it shows like sustainability is only at the conjunction or intersection of these three pillars. Okay, but here it shows like all three are contributing, or sustainability relies on the foundation of these three pillars. So, let us look at one by one. Environmental sustainability, because it was mainly for the purpose of environment, this whole terminologies and sustainable development goals were defined. So, environmental is obviously of the most prime importance, and it shows the responsibility of like communities, corporates, industries to conserve natural resources, and not just conserve those resources, but also protect global ecosystems to support human health and well-being now and in the future. So, whatever is related to conserving or protection of environmental resources and ecosystems, that would be covered in environmental sustainability. Companies or industries should implement eco-friendly practices, and these need not be at the odds with business goals. So, this is important. Environmental sustainability does not say like industries should be shut down or closed, or they should be at odds with their business goals. No, that is not the idea behind this environmental sustainability, but what it says, like you may compromise a little bit on your business goals, but try to implement such practices which will not have significantly adverse or negative impact on the environment. So, that is what it says about. And if environmental sustainability done right, it should align profits with people and the planet. You would see that in many companies nowadays, like those who have started following the path of sustainability mainly through CSR initiatives or making modifications in their production processes or product pipeline, or shifting from linear economy to recycling or circular economy based models, they have realized that while taking care of the environment, their profits have increased. So, the environmental sustainability, if done correctly, it will not reduce the profits, but it may increase or maintain the same profits along with caring for people and the planet. Some examples of how industries can achieve environmental sustainability. When I say industries, need not be just industries, it can be any organization or firm, public sector, private sector, academic institution, university. Okay. So, one of the causes, the major causes of environmental degradation is excessive use of fossil fuels and deforestation, right. So, on one side we are increasing the use of fossil fuel excessively, we are using the fossil fuels for energy purpose as well as for material purpose, okay. And on the other side, whatever pollution we are making, like say CO2 emissions, it is absorbed by trees or forest, but on the other hand we are cutting down the forest, cutting down trees. So, it is like on both fronts there is a push towards degradation of the environment or the nature. So, to reduce that impact of fossil fuels, at least on the energy sector, one best solution or alternative is to go for renewable energy. Okay. So, this comes at the forefront, like when we talk about environmental sustainability in energy sector, we should be using renewable energy. Then lot of emissions or impact happen from waste and different types of pollution. So, limiting waste and pollution, conserving water. Water is also a primary resource obtained from nature, and just I think nearly 1% of the total water in the world is fresh water, and with such huge population like more than 8.5 billion in the world, we need to find ways to conserve water. Also with the increasing waste and plastic, what we say, discharges in the oceans and seas, even the salt water or the sea water is getting polluted. So, there is a need to protect those water bodies also. Using energy efficient office equipment, none of the machines are 100% efficient, right, that it will spoil the law of thermodynamics. So, there is always a scope to increase the efficiency of any machinery that we are using in industries at present, and with a single percent of increase in the energy efficiency, it may end up increasing profits as well as reducing the emissions and environmental impact by a significant portion. In chemical based industries or power industries, the efficiency matters a lot. In our houses nowadays, we have started using this 5-star rating equipment, right, the air conditioners, refrigerators. Earlier they used to be like 2-star or 3-star, 4-star. Now I think it's a 5-star, and with the 5-star rating, several studies have found out that within 5 years or within 10 years, the extra cost that we pay on the capital cost or the installation of that equipment, it is reimbursed by the, or it is saved by the operational cost savings over those period of 5 years or 10 years, depending on what equipment we are talking about. Then reducing travel and travel emissions, it's two different terminologies, right. If we can reduce travel, that is a very good option, and but if we are traveling, then can we do it by public transport or by some mode of transport which will have less emissions wherever it is possible, and obviously not at the cost of comfort of people, because when we talk about sustainability, we need to consider the social sustainability aspect also, where well-being and comfort, health, safety, all those things would come into picture. Then creating products that are easy to recycle, that will help us spending money in getting the virgin or like original raw materials every time, fresh raw materials to create those products. Then construction and maintaining sustainable buildings. Most of the population is migrating now from rural areas to urban areas. Even in India, the percentage of population living in urban area is significantly, like is exponentially increasing. There is a lot of migration from rural to urban, and when population comes to urban areas, at least in tier 2 or metro cities, there are huge buildings coming up which consumes a lot of energy, mainly in air conditioning or for other appliances required for heating if it is months of winter in the cold regions. And constructing those buildings in a sustainable way, right from their design, the raw materials, whether we would be able to use or link it with renewables, that has been an area of research as well as development in this sector. So, these are different examples through which environmental sustainability could be achieved. Economic sustainability, it describes actions that supports companies' long term economic growth. Okay. Sustainable, the word sustainable itself means something for a long term. Okay. We are not talking about something which is showing its impact for a short term, it has to be there for a long term. So, when economic growth is to be decided for a company, the efforts should be such that there is a long term economic growth while simultaneously preserving the environment, society and culture. I mean the other two pillars of the sustainability, that is environmental and social. It is important for a business because it cannot achieve long term economic growth if it exhausts natural or human resources. For example, let us take if there is any mill which employs like say 1000 workers. Now, if those workers are not healthy or not happy or not energetic, the performance of the mill is going to get down. So, it is important for that mill owner to consider about the benefits, the well-being and the comfort of those employees who are working for that mill and ultimately contributing to its economic growth. So, those policies or systems in the company which will help all the employees or the stakeholders need to be like favorable. Also, if it is let us say the rice mill and it needs a lot of energy like steam as well as electricity to operate it, and in that particular region if that energy is obtained from electricity from the coal or you can consider as a locally available biomass, but if there is a excess use of those natural resources, whether it is a coal based electricity or a biomass for providing heat, it will exhaust soon, because in nature the amount of biomass or the coal available for that region is going to be fixed. We are exploiting, we are mining it at a rate that which we need, and every day new biomass is being grown, new coal is being formed underground, but the rate of like extraction and consumption is much higher than the rate of replenishing those renewable like biomass or fossil fuel like coal. So, there is a huge gap between the consumption and between the replenishment. Hence, if any company or any industry exhaust those naturally available resources very fast, they will not be able to run at the full capacity for a long term, and that will affect their long term economic growth. So, that is why it is important for business that they do care about the environment also, and it will take care of their economic growth too. For some examples by which economic sustainability can be achieved, reducing reliance on fossil fuels, more sustainable agriculture, increased recycling, a circular economy model, improved public health. We have a whole a separate lecture on circular economy. So, I won't be discussing this in detail right now, but we will be covering it just after 1 or 2 lectures. I think we will be having this session on circular economy. The third pillar is social sustainability. This is a picture taken from NBS and it shows the social sustainability in business. There are like 5 broad factors which determine this social sustainability in business, and there are 2 types of stakeholders, internal and external. Internal stakeholders with respect to any business or a company would be people who are working within the boundary of that company. Okay. It can be employees, top management, different levels of management, and to certain extent it can be the raw material transporters which bring those raw materials and utilities into the gate of the company. External stakeholders would be, can be the investors, the raw material and utility suppliers, community living nearby, and other people who might get affected by that company, but live outside the boundary of that business. The factors which determine or which are important for social sustainability are equality, diversity and inclusion, fair labor practices, public advocacy, community engagement, health and safety. When we say equality, diversity and inclusion, it means the equal employment opportunities and progression of all groups without prejudice. So, in a workplace there should not be any discrimination based on gender, based on the race or religion or the economic status of the person, and the opportunities for receiving or getting employment at that business should be equal. And it should have some norms, some criteria, but it should be equal and unbiased. Then for fair labor practices, it should have equal pay and working conditions, obviously for people at one level. Then there should be freedom of association among the stakeholders working in the company at their same level or at the level like above or below them. It may not go like extremely like it is not possible that all the employees will have access to top management or executive level management all the time, but still there should be a freedom of association for those workers or employees who are surrounded by same group of people at the workplace for most of the time. No harassment in the workplace, so it should be proper like safe labor practices should be applicable. For this public advocacy may help in the form, because laborers have their own unions, even engineers and other employees may have their own local groups or forums where they can raise their issues and take it up to the top management. Then in health and safety, appropriate and effective health and safety equipment for all. There are many industries which deals with dangerous chemicals, hazardous products, some toxic products. There may be emissions related to different gases, and for that the proper safety gear should be provided to all those employees. So, that way health and safety is a part of the social sustainability. And then community engagement. You would see that many organizations they conduct annual like there is a general meeting obviously for all the stakeholders, but then they have this maybe weekly, monthly or annual festival related to culture or sports, and that helps to engage the community properly. Also they may have these CSR funds utilized for the local community living in the vicinity of those businesses, which may sponsor the education of the kids living in the community in the nearby community area, doing some tree plantation, cleaning drives, or may offer some like say one day open house tours to their industries or businesses. So, that way it is trying to engage the community inside and outside the business. So, that is social sustainability. So, those were the 3 pillars of sustainability: environmental, economic and social. Different factors which determine those pillars and how to achieve each of those sustainability, and but then there is a lot of overlap between all 3. Okay, those 3 cannot be separated, and that is why whether it is a weak sustainability or a strong sustainability, you will see in both the cases there is a lot of overlap between the 3 pillars of sustainability. So, weak sustainability is represented by this, where like nature, economy and society are considered as 3 separate components or entities, and at their junction, common junction exists sustainable development or sustainability. And in the strong sustainability, both economy and society they are not separate from nature, they are not separate from environment. We are the part of environment. Okay. So, society is a subset of nature, economy is a subset of society. So, we cannot actually distinguish or separate one pillar from the other, and that is the idea of strong sustainability. So, if we know, if we realize this, that society is a part of nature and economy is a part of society or social activities, then we need not like think differently that we have to care about nature separately. Even if we care about our economy and society, it should take care of nature by itself. But since that has not been the norm throughout the decades, and since the time this sustainability concept was introduced, this picture has been broadly used. But it is good to see that nowadays like people are moving towards this picture of strong sustainability, and where we do not consider nature or environment as a separate entity than the society, but we are the part of it. So, what is the difference? Natural, let me explain what is natural capital. Okay. So, natural capital is the stock of nature's resources and ecosystems that will provide different benefits and services to the humans. Okay. For example, if we drink water, we get it from rivers or lakes. That water is filtered, tested, and then we drink it. But nature's water cycle or hydrological cycle is the one which is responsible for rains, and that rain generates water, and drinking water is coming to us as a benefit or a service provided by the natural ecosystem through that hydrological or water cycle. Similarly, we get oxygen through the nature's function of oxygen cycle or oxygen recycling. We get fruits, flowers, vegetables, all these the components of nature, soil, water, air, they do their functions, and then we are reaping the benefits and services from those nature's resources. Okay. So, the value of all those benefits and services can be called as a natural capital, and total capital would always be the sum of natural capital and the man-made capital. Okay. So, the idea of weak sustainability is based on natural capital can be replaced by man-made capital, and strong sustainability thinks that natural capital cannot be substituted, because we are the part of nature. Our capital is actually natural capital, so it cannot be substituted. Resource depletion is allowed if it is compensated. So, if we are cutting down trees for construction of roads or houses, we can grow it back also. It will take some longer time, but resource can be compensated, and hence the depletion of those resources are allowed in weak sustainability. But in strong sustainability, the critical resources must be preserved. If it is a forest area, we should not be cutting down the trees. Okay, that is what strong sustainability says. If even if we like badly need a road or some infrastructure project, it should be taken around that forest area. Okay, but we should not go through the forest. That is what strong sustainability suggests. Weak assumes environmental limits are flexible, whereas strong sustainability recognizes strict ecological limits. The environmental limits or the carrying capacity of the environment, as we know, like it is usually fixed. Okay. But in weak, we think like they are slightly flexible, and we can alter, like we can change the width of the river, we can construct a dam to stop the flow of river, we can convert a agricultural land into a residential land, or forest land into a agricultural land, and we can even try to convert desert land into a green vegetation based land. So, because of this assumption that environmental limits are flexible, we come up with lot of economic growth plus technology based approaches in weak sustainability, whereas in strong sustainability we recognize the strict ecological limits, and hence conservation first approach is followed, rather than like degrading the environment first and then coming up with measures to fix it. But if we try to conserve the environment, then the damage will not be so significant. The last distinguishing point between weak and strong sustainability is total capital should not fall. Total means natural plus man-made, and in strong, natural capital must not fall. So, again strong is very like conservative towards the nature and protection of nature. So, natural capital should not fall. If man-made capital falls or total capital falls, it does not matter, but natural capital must be maintained intact. In fact, if we could try to increase the stock of nature's resources, that is well and good, but it should not fall. And in the weak sustainability, the emphasis is on total capital should not fall. So, in this what happens? Sometimes we deplete natural resources and natural capital goes on falling down, but at the cost of it we increase the man-made capital. So, we try to maintain the total capital level. So, that is the basic difference between weak sustainability and strong sustainability. And now coming to how to decide, like if the companies are given the options of these two types of sustainability, weak or strong, which one they should follow. So, here is a simple flow chart. So, to start at that decision, check if the natural resource is easily substitutable by technology. If it is substitutable, then go for weak sustainability. So, we can replace the natural resource by technology, and if we replace that resource by technology, then ask another question whether the ecological or environmental risk is low or not. So, if the environmental risk like the biodiversity loss or irreversible damage, if there is a high environmental risk, then the answer, low, for risk low, answer is no. So, you should go for strong sustainability, okay, because in this case the resource is critical and non substitutable because of the high risk. And if it is saying that the risk is low, you can continue with weak sustainability. Okay. So, that is the simple flow chart for making a decision on which type of sustainability to choose, but in practice we would recommend a mix of both. Do not just restrict to, or it can be looked upon as a give first preference to strong sustainability always, and wherever you think like it is going to be at the cost of profits substantially and company is going to be bankrupt or get at significant like lot of losses, then try moving towards weak sustainability. That can be the way forward to go. So, strong sustainability is preferred when environmental risks are high or natural resources are irreplaceable. So, whenever environmental risks are high, I think strong sustainability is the way to go. Let us take a couple of examples. Aravali Biodiversity Park near Gurgaon. So, the problem there was because of mining and deforestation and lot of urban expansion in that region, it degraded the Aravali hills near Gurugram. Okay. This is a newspaper cutout from Times of India which shows like how this land was earlier and after this has been converted to a biodiversity park, how lush green is it. So, what was the action taken on the part of community or government? They tried to restore this 380 plus acres land by native plant species and removed the invasive species of Prosopis juliflora. That is the invasive species which is not good for the underground water table also, and it just went on increasing like invasively. So, native plant species were restored, invasive species were removed, the water recharge structures were built so that the groundwater level can be maintained, and community led conservation activities were carried out along with providing this eco friendly education programs and events to the communities living nearby that park, because it is the community living near that park who are going to be the highest affected people. So, they did participate in this process or in this series of actions which were taken to restore the Aravali Park. The outcome of those activities was almost 200 plus new plant species and 180 plus bird species were restored, and that is what converted it to a biodiversity park, a tourist spot now. Improved groundwater recharge, it is a water scarce region, so we needed those water recharge structures, and then became climate resilient urban green lung. If you look at the levels of pollution and particulate matter in that region of Gurugram, it is very high, particularly in the months of winter, and with this huge biodiversity park with lot of greenery and bird species and good biodiversity and water stored capacity, I think it acts as a green lung for the urban city. The category of this case study can be considered as a strong sustainability because it was emphasized on protecting the irreplaceable natural capital. By removing those invasive species or leveling that land for building some mall or a stadium or a industry would have led to the addition of man-made capital, but the natural capital would have declined significantly. But in this case, importance was given to natural capital, the natural resources, and hence this is the example case study for strong sustainability. Take another case study, IKEA. It is a world famous fertilizer manufacturing as well as retail company, and they have employed circular economy in their retail structure. So, furniture industry, because they use lot of wood and other materials, there is a lot of waste and particulate matter emissions generation. So, to reduce those environmental impacts, IKEA, like what did they do? They launched buy back and resell program for old furniture. If a furniture is of good quality, it can last for 50 years, more than 50 years also sometimes. But a lot of times people do not want to retain the furniture for longer than 15-20 years, and they just throw it away. It will end out as a waste of resource. But if it could be bought back, refurbished and resold by the same company or some other company dealing with like say refurbishing of old furnitures, that gives a very good return to customer, as well as that gives a very good raw material for the companies manufacturing furnitures. Then transition to 100% renewable energy. Wherever the energy was used for electrification, for production, for energy, they moved to renewable energy. They started using sustainable materials like bamboo and recycled wood, rather than bringing like fresh metal, plastic every time for different furnitures. Wherever they could use the naturally sourced sustainable materials, they used it. And then they designed products for disassembly and reuse. Many furnitures like the double beds or the sofa sets, they are pretty huge in dimensions, and like moving them or it's very difficult if it's coming out to be in a single piece. So, if the products are designed in such a way that they are easy to dismantle, it's easy to ship, transport, also it will be easy to dispose of, okay, and it will be easy to reuse also. Like some component, let us take example of a chair with 4 legs. If one of the legs is broken, we end up throwing the entire chair. But if those legs of the chair are replaceable, we can just go replace that single leg and the chair can be reused, right. So, outcome of these actions was almost 70% IKEA products now they are made from recycled or renewable materials. They reduce the carbon footprint because of renewable energy usage, and because of their circular economy model, there was a lot of global awareness about reducing waste and promoting circularity, not only in energy sector but also in material approach. So, the category here was a combination of weak and strong sustainability, because they did not shut down their or reduced their furniture making business, or they did not make their emissions or waste zero, but they tried to recycle, reuse and go for renewables as much as they can. Okay. So, it is a very good example of a hybrid like strong plus weak sustainability case. So, that was all about this lecture. So, to summarize, we started with sustainability and sustainable development. So, one is the ultimate vision or the state, and second is the pathway or the processes or means to achieve that state of sustainability. Pillars, 3 pillars: society, economy, environment, also called as people, planet and profit. And we looked at each of those sustainability with some examples how to achieve economic, environmental or social sustainability. Then 2 types of sustainability based on the importance of natural capital, that is weak and strong sustainability, along with case study for each. And what was the finding? Wherever natural capital is irreplaceable, whenever there is a project in the ecologically sensitive zone, the first preference should always be given to the strong sustainability, and then it can be combined or merged with the weak sustainability. But make sure there is a effort towards making the entire product or process sustainable. So, with this I will stop here. Thank you.